Hey guys, it's Ben the Coin Geek at Old Pueblo Coin. Thanks for being here today where we have an open box of fun coins we got back from PCGS. A couple bonus pieces here. I got a couple world coins that were in a separate submission that I saved and a couple of crackouts. And I want to start first with the only coin in this group that is not mine. And this is kind of a brutal one, honestly, because the coin is so pretty. So pretty, and I've been leading the jury here. Cleaned unk details. And so this one is tough, but we're going to look at all those really fine hairlines going across the field that, you know, if you just had this in a under normal kind of like incandescent lighting, you would not be able to see those. So kind of brutal because the coin still looks absolutely stunning. Kind of a tough one. That one is for a client. All right, off to the races, folks. I had a group of like semi-key date coins come in raw albums, and this first coin is a very interesting coin because I got to talk a little bit about the difference in strike on a coin and the unevenness that a strike can have. Because here, if you just look at this side of the coin here, the reverse, the back side, you see a coin with really super even wear, super even strike. And then the 1877 United States, and then all of a sudden up here in the corner, it's like gone, 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 gone. The word of almost gone. Super flat. So kind of tough to grade, but you can actually see parts of Liberty. The date's super strong. They gave this coin a VG8. So kind of an interesting type coin because you can see the weakness up here on the northwest corner of the coin, if you will. So that is a coin that retails for about $7.25 on that guy. Next up, we have an 09, and this is going to be the San Francisco treat. And you'll see the difference between the previous coin and this one, with a lot more lines up here in the shield. There's actually on these wreaths, you can make out the little acorns on there. And there is the S. And you've got a full Liberty. And you can start to make out a number of the feathers. Nice strong L on the ribbon there. This one they called an extra fine 40. And that is a coin that retails for, I think, about that 5 1/4 range, 5.30, something like that. All right. Oh, here we go. Good. We've got another one. So this one, let's see if you think this one grades higher or lower than the previous one. We already had the XF40 as our standard bearer. And what do you see that you didn't see before? So how are those lines on that shield? How much of these of this wreath can you make out? And then the word Liberty. So this thing is kind of wild. VF details. Okay, so what we've got going on here is a failure to communicate. They got a scratch on this guy. So I think they're calling out not this little notch in the corner, because they probably would have said rim bump. But I think it's this line that they've got running up across the top there. So tough. That's the brakes. That's the brakes, kids. All right, what do we got going on here? All right, 1922, no D. So this is the one you want. This is the strong reverse. So for the strong reverse, couple comments on this. It literally is a strong reverse in that you can see everything is bold instead of soft and mushy. And then the second 2 stands out. That's the one you want. The 1 usually stands out a little bit, but then the 9 and the 2 get progressively weaker. And then the second 2 is like, oh, wait, here I am. And that's it. So this guy they called a VG8 on that guy, and this guy retails for close to $600. That's always one of the key coins in the series. Next up, 1942 over 1. The Philadelphia Mint. This is the one that everyone likes. I shouldn't say everyone. Maybe some of you don't like it. But you can really just see how that the 2 is over the top of the 1. One of my favorite varieties. Actually, fun fact, these coins are counterfeited pretty regularly. I got to get my hands on a couple of counterfeits so I can talk about and show the difference here. And you'll see, unlike the 1916 Denver coins, there's actually detail to this coin. You can make out part of the fasces. That is the lines on the bar on the axe. And a lot of the leaves have definition, good separation between the lettering and the rim. And overall, pretty pleasing coin. This one they called a VF25. And that coin is in that mid to upper $500 range. So like I said, better date coins, just bear in mind, I mean, coins that look like this, Mercury dimes that look like this will cost you $2.50, $3 normally, unless they're better dates. And there's just a handful of better dates, the 16D, the 21s, and then the 42 over 1s. And this one's the one that's a lot trickier. I might have to pull out the 20 power loop to show you what the 42 over 1 Denver Mint coin looks like. Now, we had a, what was the grade on the other one? VF25. So you guys can just do higher or lower. We'll make it a little easier. You know, is this going to grade higher or lower than that coin, or the same, based on your recollection of the coin? Well, I'll recollect fine 12. I'm going to take a closer look here. See if we can't get a view of that 42 over 1. So this guy, very tricky, because you'll see lots of stuff that looks like this, but it's just damaged dates. I want you to focus on that extra tail under the 4 that comes down and to the left. That to me is always the most telling. And then there'll be a little knob under the 2 as well. But that extra, the base of the 4, this bottom stem of the 4 looking doubled, is kind of what I key in on that particular coin. In that one, it sells, I think that coin sells a little bit north of $400 on that guy. All right, so this guy here, a little bit tricky. We got a 23S. 23S, super scarce date, hard to get coin in anything better than just like a good VG. This coin actually has a lot of detail, and you can see how the date's halfway gone anyways. Just the process of the Standing Liberty Quarter Series is just wild, because you had so many things that happened in the changing and modification of the coins over time. This guy is VF Details corrosion removed. So what they're basically saying is the coin probably had something eating away at it, and somebody went ahead and removed that stuff that was on top, and it left the corrosion. It's a funny way of putting things, because they could have just put like carotid artery, probably just had too much bacon. I don't know. I'm not sure what we're going to sell that for. Maybe we'll just like eBay auction it or something. It has huge price point jumps. You know, a middle VF sells for like $1,000, and you know, a low grade one is several hundred. So we will have to ponder anew on that guy. Well, most of these coins are probably going to be available on our website by the time the video drops. Some may have already sold. So usually if you look in the show notes, you'll be able to find something for sale from the videos that we produce. But also, sometimes you take a coin and it comes in, and then we say, you know what, I'm going to send that to CAC. And a few of these may end up going off to CAC for stickering. I'm just like super duper fond of this coin for no apparent reason other than the fact that it's just very lovely. Nice original coin, 1870. I really just enjoy the surface of this coin, you know, that whatever that look is. And the seeded series actually is very interesting, because usually you have such a bold set of features with the date and the stars, and you know, but here you have actually very light engraving for most of the design. So there's nothing super bold about the look. over Lady Liberty until you compare it to a worn one, which is just smooth. And the same is actually true for a lot of the reverses on these coins, where you've got that super strong lettering around the edges, but the "In God We Trust" is often weak, and then ain't that the truth? And then a lot of times the feathers on the eagle are often also very subdued looking. So this one is an XF40, and just kind of that perfect looking, original looking coin with the smallest hint of luster around those high points around the stars. So I might send that thing off to get stickered, because I think it's a great coin. You know, it's one of those areas where it probably adds value to the coin. By adds value, yeah, you know, we'll talk later about that. We'll talk after the show. 77S, trade dollar. So from the seeded dollar to a trade dollar. This one's interesting. I think this was in like an old manila envelope. Has a lot of that OG toning to it. Kind of intrigued by this coin. So, you know, I have to point this out because occasionally I'll see coins that come back that I think are just kind of overgraded. MS62, and this is the problem with overgraded coins, is they'll always remain in their holders. Someone's going to look at this coin, love it, buy it, and just be happy with it as a 62. Someone else would do the same thing. But, you know, there's art involved here, right? So I mean, I don't get the Mona Lisa, so there's that, right? But, oh, the hate mail. All right, so this one intrigues me because there's a lot of coins that have a ton of design details that hide luster perfectly. And so like on a barber, think of a barber quarter, barber half, well, the reverse will almost always look gem BU, and the obverse is like an XF. No, the obverse is like a slider AU. And this coin to me feels that way. A cool tone to it. I just feel like it's missing some luster on some of the high points here. You know, this whole field in the middle feels like it has, well, it just feels like it's missing luster. So that is a coin that's probably a $1,200 or $1,300 type coin. And, you know, like I said, someone's going to like it. I just need to say, I think, therefore I am. 1878, Carson City. This guy. What are you going to do with this guy here? We got the altered surfaces on this guy. I'm not going to argue it. I think that's probably right on. So it has, it kind of goes black and white too fast, like this, you know, white, black, white, black. It's hard because sometimes you'll have like a proof-like surface that'll do something similar, but honestly, it just feels like it's maybe been wiped or something. So once again, I don't know if we're going to eBay that or not. It's a decently hard date to get a nice coin, clearly, because that one's not that nice. And, you know, it's probably a $350 type coin the way it is. So this coin's a fantastical mystery for me, and I'll show you in a minute why. But really, really a lovely, lovely example of a Carson City 81cc. And then I'm going to show you, I think it's this next guy here. Here's an 84cc. Very similar, just that nice original bold Carson City look that you get. Strong strike, solid luster, clean fields. Love me some Carson City, right? I mean, I could see, I know a number of collectors that just put together only Carson Cities, or maybe they were just doing the Morgans. MS65, which I think is, you know, roughly a $450-ish type coin. So I want to show you this next. I want to go back to this guy here, because this guy, Unk Detail Scratch. Now, the mystery here for me is, like, I remember this coin when I first got it, and I thought, oh, that's a gem coin. Gem of Panem. Here's the scratch. So one of the things I want to show you guys on this coin, my pain, your education. So lots of coins have scratches on them, right? Like, where were we? Let's go back in time here. Let's grab that scratched cents, shall we? Somebody tell me I have that in here somewhere, right? So scratch. I actually have a couple coins to show you on this because it bears witness, right? So just like that other coin that had, well, yes, grading has its subjectivity. It always will. So this one, you know, they're calling out this mark here as a scratch. Also, I want to show you on, if you didn't notice on this 22, this line here that comes kind of over the shoulder, across the neck and behind the head, that easily could be called a scratch, right? This is definitely a scratch, but what I wish I had a silver coin. Maybe I'll notice it on one of these other coins. You'll have marks that are scratches or look like scratches, and sometimes they'll get called out, sometimes they won't. But this is a new scratch. That's fresh. It's just like when you cut yourself, right? There's a freshness to it, and so this is very aggravating / intriguing for me because I don't know who put the scratch there or when. And by the way, I'm not in any way indicting somebody outside of the shop. I'm just saying, like, it was probably in a 2x2 holder with, staples. Staples, there it is. Staples, can't stand it. 1893, this is the Philadelphia Mint. You have to tell me what you think of this coin. Looks like it has a little bit of staining to it. Once again, talk about the subjectivity of everything and how do you interpret the marks on there. This has, I think, a nice original look to it, nice even wear to it, and a little bit of a stain, but didn't get called stained. Got an XF45, probably about a $600+ coin, $650 maybe. And, I've had coins like that came back marked stained. I happen to like the overall look of the coin. Oh, here we go. Let's get back to some good news for you guys to learn. All right, so here we go again. So this guy, little $1 gold piece, these guys are so tiny, 1851. And we're going to get yet another unk detail with a scratch on it. This one's really interesting to me because this is also a relatively fresh set of marks over here to the right of the field. So that feels all very fresh. And you have marks over here. I wonder if this was like in jewelry or something until recently. See, I would comment that the marks kind of going across the face are a little bit older in nature, but these ones off in the field to the right are very new. And here you go. There's a bunch of little lines like right above them. So the star that's kind of dead center bottom, if you look, you'll see those scratches I'm highlighting now by turning it. Those are like older marks because they're very hard to see at most angles versus this one on the right side, which pops up easy peasy. Easy peasy. All right, I don't know what we're gonna do with that guy. $300, $400 type coin, something like that. We're going to get into some crackouts and some world coins real quick. Let's go ahead and highlight something though that I'm super excited about. I love a really beautiful 2.5 Indian, and that is what you want those fields to look like. Just pools of glitter. There's such a unique set of coins, the 2.5 and 5 Indians. But those surfaces new are just unlike anything else. That's what they're actually supposed to look like. And on the obverse, you want to see a lot of the same stuff in the fields to the north and to the west there. So the top and the left-hand side, the only open areas. And then once you get in the rest of the coin, it just lots and lots of glitter inside the headdress as well. And then there's this neckline which glistens. Like that neckline is always so amazing on that. MS64. Really nice grade. I don't know if that's like a $700 or $800 type coin. The market's always shifting on those, but very, very lovely example of a 2.5 Indian. All right, El Crackerino here. I've got some crackouts coming your way, and apparently I need to get myself situated. in the meantime, let's take a look at some world coins and just how they did. We actually have Caballito and another Caballito, and we actually have this kind of wild looking piece, which I'm pretty excited to show to you. It's just something a little bit different. And then I'm gonna have a couple of really nice looking Standing Liberty quarters that I cracked in a $3 gold piece. So we're gonna have fun with those. First, let's look at these Caballitos. This is the horse and rider, probably one of the most famous Mexican coins, popular coins, the peso. Both of these are 1913, but they're not quite the same. So let's look at the date here, 1913, kind of get your eyes trained to what that looks like. Then I'm going to pull up the other guy here, 1913. All right, you see the tab under the right of the 3. The rest of the date almost looks doubled, the 9 especially. That tab under the 3, that's actually a 13/2 variety. So, and this one here they called Mint State 63. Pretty tough coin. I mean, the comps on this coin are in the $1,600 range. And then this particular guy they called MS61. And once again, as someone getting coins graded, it's hard to kind of complain. But you'll see this guy here comps at about 500 or 600. You'll see once again a lot of breaks in the luster there in the open field. This coin I was calling AU, and so there's that. And then this guy I was calling just like a lower grade Mint State. I was actually going lower than a 63 on that, but that has, I think, more of a complete luster look to it. So pretty wild and crazy stuff on the Caballitos. And then this guy, Ferdinand and Isabella, which it doesn't say on the holder, but just a wild looking piece. Just the engraved and re-engraved versions of these. They're all over the place the way that they're made and produced. So hard to tell sometimes what you're even looking at. And this one looks like it was probably struck over itself. I doubt it was struck over a struck coin, but it's probably like struck and then, oh, it doesn't look good, just strike again. It's kind of like when you erase something and then you write over it and erase over it and write over it again, and it just gets kind of muddled. So you can see there's just like the double lettering right there. So it looks like they struck it and then they struck it again. See, this is the Elizabeth, right? Is that Elizabeth? Anyway, pretty cool piece. XF45, Spain, 4 reals. Just kind of fun. That is about 520 on that guy. All right, last but not least, I've got some Crackamundos for you here. I've got a 1926 Denver NGC MS64 that I liked, and a 24D MS64 that I liked. And then this last one, this was just kind of because, like, this, whatever a PNA is, MS62, you already know, maybe you already know, this coin here is very, very bright and shiny. And so I sent this in just to get it certified and also just to show you guys what not to do. AU cleaned, PCGS AU clean details. 1878, one of the most common years on the $3 gold piece. It's kind of nice to have it even in a holder like this, just so it's authentic. It is one of the most counterfeited coins in the U.S. Pantheon of coins is that $3 gold piece. Not sure how to price that exactly. Looks like XFs are $1,000 and AUs are $1,200. I don't know. We'll figure that out. In the meantime, all right, 26D and MS64. Let's take a look at this bad boy here. You know, neither of these coins actually jump a whole lot between 64 and 65. But, you know, it's just the premise of I thought this coin was quite stunning. And so I said, let's have some fun with it. Yeah, very original looking piece. I think if I had to be critical of this particular coin, you know, I'd really just call out there's that one spot right there kind of on the chainmail. 4 to 4. Well, I mean, now it's in a PCGS holder, so for you guys who only do PCGS, congratulations. These guys, let me see here. Yeah, I think, see, there's almost no difference in price based on just kind of where the sheets are at on that. 4s and 5s are in that $400 to $500 range. And this one's cool. This one, it's interesting because it actually has a really nice strike over the chainmail. The head is flat. The date is almost half gone. Look at that. That's actually just how they were produced with that big old gap there. So you can understand a little bit more like, well, why is the date gone on that, even though there's all that detail? Well, look at this on an uncirculated coin. Just that flatness. 1924 Denver. And, you know, just a little bit of staining on here, but to me, nothing that's too shabby. I really like this coin. I felt like this one had a better chance. It's got a little bit of tone to it. 64-64, so nothing doing, no dice, but once again, beautiful original skin on that coin. And very cool stuff. Guys, thanks so much for being here today. I'm Ben the Coin Geek. You can subscribe by clicking on the owl button in the corner and watch more videos on the right side of the screen. Thanks.